hypocrisy which exists in the system. A Saudi Arabia-led coalition bombs Yemen, bombs the Houthis, and kills more than 300. Have you seen a shutdown in any US campus? No. Scratch a Palestinian and then see what happens. This is the power of mainstream media and social media. You always have the victim card to play. And is there a better card in the world than the victim card? There isn't. And this is exactly what the Hamas has been doing. You can see the effect in American campuses. Jan friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. On Sunday, surprisingly, Hamas launched a series of missile strikes against the capital of Israel. They launched missiles at Tel Aviv. And this is the first time it's happened ever since the war broke out. Launching missiles directly at Tel Aviv, and there has not been a case of such an emergency in Tel Aviv in the recent past. When I say the recent past, I mean the past few months. And this was triggered by, as I mentioned, Hamas rocket firing. The Israelis managed to shoot most of them down, and there was almost no damage or death as far as Israel is concerned. But when Israel hit back in Rafah, they hit back very hard. People died, and then the Hamas propaganda wing started getting active, that Israel has killed people, Israel has killed people, it has killed innocents. This is exactly how the Palestinian mind behaves. A lot of people from the US, from UK, well-meaning people, I'm not blaming them, well-meaning people, they've told me that, Major, you're too overtly critical of the Palestinian people, and they've suffered and all that. I'm not saying they haven't suffered. Nobody is saying that the Palestinians have not suffered. All I'm saying is that they are to blame for that suffering because they started all wars. Israel has never started a war with anybody. You can go back to history and you can see Israel has hit back hard. And then people cry and weep about disproportionate force. I don't understand, the way people think about this, because all these campuses in the United States of America, all these universities in Europe, they're saying we are marching with the Palestinians, we support the Palestinians. It is these very Palestinians who voted the Hamas to power in 2006. There was an election. And you know what the first order of the day was? When Hamas came to power, they threw out the Palestinian Authority. They said, get lost. Today, there are people in the Palestinian Authority who own land in Gaza, but they cannot come and visit their own families. They know that they will be killed by Hamas. This is what is happening inside. One must understand the internal politics. And one must also understand that all these groups who claim, I'll come back to the news, I have some news to give you, but before that I just want to tell these people, and I want to explain to them again and again, that when you say that, we stand with the Palestinians, sure, stand with the Palestinians. Nobody's saying you don't. But look at this hypocrisy which exists in the system. A Saudi Arabia-led coalition, mark my words, I will repeat, a Saudi Arabia-led coalition bombs Yemen, bombs the Houthis, and kills more than 300,000. And these are United Nations figures. These are not my figures. The UN has said that more than 300,000 people have died, and more than half of them were innocent. They were women, they were children. They were killed. But nobody says a word. There is no campus that has come out in protest. No US campus has come out in protest. Nobody talks about it. The global media will not talk about it. It has been covered certainly in some editorials and some headlines, but there is no feeling of angst. There is no feeling of anger. There is no feeling of, how can you kill 300,000 people? How can you just kill people like that in their hundreds and thousands without any accountability? But nobody said a word. Nobody said a word. But when Israel responds, everybody wants to teach human rights to Israel. And I'll tell you why this is. This is simply because the Israelis are largely Jews. I'm not saying all Israelis are Jews, but they are a vast majority of the Israelis are Jews. This is nothing but anti-Semitic behavior. This is nothing but, Jewish hatred. If it isn't Jewish hatred, why aren't people talking about the genocide in Yemen? Why are you not talking about it? I wish to understand. How many people have died in Ukraine? Russia invaded. Whatever the reasons. The truth is that Russia invaded Ukraine. The truth is that that many hundreds, I don't know, hundreds of thousands or millions of Ukrainians have been displaced. They can no longer go back home. Cities have been flattened. Tens of thousands have been killed. Have you seen a shutdown in any US campus? No. It doesn't matter. Scratch a Palestinian. Just scratch a Palestinian and then see what happens. This is the power of propaganda, my friends. This is the power of mainstream media and social media. They'll make you think that Israel's war against Hamas is the biggest tragedy, which has ever happened on the face of this earth because Palestinians are involved. But there are killings more than 10 times greater. And nobody will even discuss them because the Jews are not involved. Now, in this case also, the Israel Defense Force confirmed that they had carried out an airstrike on a HamaŞ compound in Rafah where significant Hamas terrorists were operating. Yes. And did civilians die? I'm sure they died. And I'll tell you why. I don't know if civilians died, but I'm sure they have. I'm sure civilians have died simply because that is where Hamas, you see, any professional military force will keep its camp away from civilian population because their aim is to avoid collateral damage either way. That is their primary aim, all professional armies. But Hamas are terrorists. The Hezbollah are terrorists. They're nothing but terrorists. So what happens in their case? What happens there is that they build their strongholds right inside heavily populated areas like near shopping malls or schools or old age homes or hospitals or refugee camps. Right in the middle of a refugee camp, you'll have a Hamas headquarters. So they'll bomb the Israelis. When the Israelis bomb back that very same exact location, you always have the victim card to play. And is there a better card in the world than the victim card? There isn't. And this is exactly what the Hamas has been doing. You can see the effect in American campuses, where those students, those young American students, most of them, actually believe that something wrong is going on. I just hope Trump comes back to power. Whatever damage he might cause to the United States or otherwise, I don't care about. I only care about one thing. Trump promised that the day he comes to power, the first thing he's going to do is throw out all these students from the universities, all these overseas students who are part of the protests, and send them home. That is what they should do. Send them home. Make sure that they never enter the United States of America again. Make sure that they never come in again. Blacklist them for life. That is what these students deserve. And the other students, the American students who have been needlessly protesting, right? They should be punished as well. They've broken the law. A few should go to prison, no doubt, to set an example. The Israel military said 8 projectiles were identified crossing the area of Rafah, the southern tip of the Gaza Strip, where Israel kept up operations despite a ruling by the top UN court ordering it to stop attacking the city. I don't know why the UN court has passed this order. Nobody listens to the UN any longer, right? The only country that quotes the UN is Pakistan. They get excited because the United Nations says something. Otherwise, nobody gets excited. Nobody listens. The Israeli military reportedly intercepted several projectiles, and Israeli emergency services confirmed that there were no reports of casualties. So nothing happened in Israel. They were intercepted and everything is good. Hamas's Al-Qassam brigade stated on Telegram that the rockets were a response to Zionist massacres against civilians. Every time you see this part of the world, the Arab world, or some part of the Muslim world, including Pakistan, it is always hyper-emotional. The Zionist regime, the oppressors, the collaborators. They have a funny way of talking, these guys. The collaborators, the oppressors, and we will fight, and intifada and all that nonsense, That is why they are losers. That is why they always lose. People like Palestinians and people like Lebanese, they always lose. Why do they lose? Because they talk big. They talk big and there is no action on ground. The infiltrators and the Zionists. God help you. The Izz al-Din al-Qassam Brigade was founded in 1991 as the military wing of Hamas. It is the largest and best equipped ground group operating in Gaza and fought several wars against Israel. So this is a brief background. Israel aims to root out Hamas fighters. You already know that in Rafah, but its assault has exacerbated civilian suffering and sparked international outrage. Of course it has. But this international outrage is fake. Because as I said, where is the international outrage for Yemen? 300,000 people have been killed. Muslims. 300,000 Muslims, let me be categorical. 300,000 Muslims were killed in Yemen. But they were killed by Muslims, so there is no outrage. Weren't those Muslims human beings? Didn't they suffer? Of course they suffered. Of course they died. Weren't the Muslim children and women innocent? Of course they were. Weren't the Muslim non-combatants innocent in Yemen? Of course they were. My only thing is that why isn't the world talking about that? You've got to be even-handed. Why isn't the world talking about that? It's not. Analyst Avika Eldar. The analyst Avika Eldar says that this will give Netanyahu an argument against the ruling of the International Court of Justice. That, he needs to attack Hamas if he has to protect Israeli civilians. And this is just Iran hitting back. The sudden attack by missile. This is just Iran trying to hit back. That is all. For what? We don't know. We don't know why Iran is hitting back, because Ibrahim Raisi died. He died in a helicopter crash. The Israelis say we didn't do it. Though they said it a little too promptly, so I don't know. But they said we didn't do it. And then there are figures, 36,000 Palestinians killed. And I want Hamas to release figures of how many Hamas terrorists were killed by the Israelis. Because they keep on, banding around these figures, 35,000 killed, 36,000 killed. If Hamas knows that 36,000 Palestinians were killed in Israeli strikes, I'm sure Hamas knows how many Hamas terrorists were killed in Israeli strikes. Will it also reveal those figures? Don't hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. And now for the question and answers. Santosh says, Jai Hind, Major Bhai Jai Hind. Santosh ji, when Muizu won the presidential election, we thought it didn't represent the majority of the people's wishes. After 21st April election, Muizu swept it, winning 66 of 93 seats. What are your views about the people of the nation? Their words welcome us for our money, but their actions show they don't like us even after what all we did for them. Santosh ji, I agree with you, but I just want to say this, that I've often said this, I've often made this argument that there is a difference between love affair and foreign affairs. Love affairs are different and foreign affairs are different. Why do we want the people of Maldives to like us? China doesn't want, look at China, and you have to admire China's policy. They don't want anybody to like them. China does not want anybody to like China. China wants everybody to bow down in front of China. For too long, we have wasted our time trying to become likable. Why? Why? The Maldivians will always hate even the Chinese. The Maldivians will hate even the Chinese. And do you know why? If you look at the ratio across the world, if you look at the ratio, per 100 people, Maldives sent the most number of terrorists to the ISIS. Maldives is the biggest supplier of terrorists to the Islamic State by ratio. Though the numbers are very few, but then the population is very less. So, I beg your pardon, the population is less. So, you can see what I'm talking about here. It's a highly, highly radicalized nation. They're only keeping up this facade of getting along with the world simply because they depend upon tourism for survival. Otherwise, that country is beyond radicalized. Sundaresan. Jai Hind, Major. Jai Hind, Sundaresan ji. It is clear that Pakistan has no shame in begging anyone except for India. No, it would beg India also if it was convinced that India would give them money. They don't have any shame. Even for India. They'll ask India for money. They always beg with an intention of not returning back. Why Pakistan feels shame when they don't have it? When anyone asks for their money back, they can plainly do Chaplin Act. Show both the pockets empty by pulling them out. In fact, they do it. Why? Except for China, IMF and other countries keep on giving them money, because there is a simple reason why people give Pakistan money. They give Pakistan money because Pakistan has told the world that we are willing to be controlled. All you need to do is throw money. And that is the easiest way to control Pakistan. Throw money, control Pakistan. Pakistan has a mercenary army, I think 600 or 700 or 800,000 strong army Pakistan has, and that army is largely a mercenary army. So all you have to do is, do you want operations carried out in Afghanistan? Of course you do. Against Al-Qaeda, against the Islamic State, send the Pakistan army. Just throw a few scraps at their generals and they'll be happy to send their army. Do you want to pressurize Iran? You know? Do you want to pressurize Iran? If things are getting out of hand and Iran is not listening, Pakistan army is there or Pakistani Air Force is there. So essentially what people want to control is the Pakistani armed forces, and the Pakistani armed forces, whether you talk about CETO, CENTO and all these deals that Pakistan was part of, they have shown their desire and willingness to be controlled. That is the quote-unquote beauty of the Pakistani armed forces. They're willing to be bought and sold like cattle, like sheep, and they're willing to be controlled, and that is why the world gives them money. Otherwise, Pakistan is no good to man or beast. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video, and if you like this video, press the like button. Subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.